I'm going to be honest. Before this happened, I honestly thought glitchinthematrix believers were a bit off. I've changed my mind. This happened just a few weeks ago. I was drinking my morning coffee like I do every morning, when I looked up and saw something that freaked me out so bad. I told my husband and kids, and I've seen UFOs and ghosts. Anyway, I look up, and a chunk of one of my walls that's part of the alcove leading to my bedroom is a freaking computer screen. We're talking like Star Trek meets Independence Day. I silently lost my stuff. I looked down briefly to grab my phone to take a photo of it, but then it was gone and back to a normal wall. I was singing in the shower the other day, and I stopped for a split moment to bend down to get some shampoo. As I went to do this, I heard myself singing. My mouth never opened. I don't have schizophrenia or anything that would make a noise like that. It was the same song, my voice, but I wasn't singing. And when I went to open my mouth to ask if someone was there, the singing stopped. I also wasn't listening to any music, so it couldn't have been any other voices. I sing a cappella in the shower. I asked my roommates if they were playing music or singing in their shower on the opposite side of the wall, and they said they were all in the living room playing a board game. The voice was clear, as if it were coming from my own mouth. The shower that I shower in has pretty harsh water pressure, so it's crazy loud. I can't think of how this could have happened, and it's been plaguing my mind a lot. I don't drink often, and I wasn't under the influence when this happened. I've never done drugs. I'm terrified and unsure as to what happened. I have no logical explanation for it. I am floored. Nothing like this has ever happened before. This was around 2 years ago. I still remember it so clearly. It was around 2 a.m. and I was coming inside from having a cigarette. As I was coming inside, I saw my sister walk into the kitchen. It wasn't uncommon for her to be awake late, as we both have trouble sleeping sometimes. I see her walk around the corner into the kitchen. I quietly called out for her, but she kept walking and didn't acknowledge me. I assumed she just didn't hear me. So I followed her to see what she was up to, and I saw her walk into the pantry, around another corner. As I stepped inside, I had the most disgusting sensation go through my body, realizing she wasn't there. Nowhere to be found, even though I know exactly what I saw, or so I thought. I quickly walked to her room to see if, well, maybe I was crazy. I opened her door, and to my absolute surprise, she was sound asleep, snoring. There's just no way that she could have got past me into her room without me seeing it. It just couldn't have happened. My friends and I would regularly play Dungeons & Dragons in person until quarantine hit. Since we couldn't see each other, we eventually settled on doing some sessions from home over the internet. I keep my dice in a tiny drawstring bag, like most people do, and keep that bag in my backpack. One time, as I was preparing for an online session, I poured my dice out of the tiny drawstring bag onto my bed. I counted 6 dice instead of the 7 that there should have been. My first thought was one was still in the drawstring bag, so I grabbed the bag and completely compressed it with my palm. The entire thing was clenched in my fist, and I didn't feel any dice in there. I subsequently looked on and under my bed, in my backpack, and any other place I could think of. It was frustrating, as I thought I lost the dice out of my set. until I grabbed the drawstring bag again, and it was just in there. The last dice was just in the bag I already fully checked. I cannot stress enough that I compressed and flattened the entire drawstring bag in my hand and didn't feel anything. It really baffled me, and none of my friends believed me. This just happened this morning. I was getting ready for work and my wife was waking up with the baby. The weather had called for an ice storm turning to rain. Now, the last storm or snow that happened meant my son was to stay at home and do virtual class. My wife also works from home, so this is tough for both her and him. Anyway, I'm coming up from the basement stairs getting my son's lunch ready, and my watch vibrates and I got a text from my wife. I look at it and it says, "It looks wet out there. Can you get more info from the school if they are closing or not?" I read it and let the dogs out and then fed them. I thought this was a normal question, so I replied, "What info?" If the school hadn't contacted us, then any info I was going to get wouldn't say they were closed. She later came down and asked what I was talking about. I told her I was replying to her text, and she had no clue. I searched all my texts and looked up the wording that she had used, but nothing. She's laughing, but damn, I even replied to her question with no evidence of her text. Not on my watch, not on my phone, not in her mind. Weird. Something is glitchy here. Weird things happen to me when I'm sick sometimes. I had the flu and my wife and I were in bed watching YouTube when I realized we had already seen the video she had on, and she had no clue what I was talking about. I told her the entire video. It was a video about a man making different dishes with the same apples, and even told her what she and I had been saying about it. At first, I thought she must have forgotten about us watching it, until she put on another video, and I got the craziest déjà vu and realized we had already seen that one, too. They weren't in my YouTube history, and that's when I started getting weirded out, because I swore we had already seen them. I scrolled down to the recommended videos, and they were the exact same videos from my memories. But that's when I realized that I couldn't place exactly when this happened. I just knew it had. It felt like I was in a simulation or something, and was replaying a scene, but it was going differently this time because I was changing my reactions. Normally I would just chalk it up to being sick and feeling weird, except that I knew what several videos were and remembered our entire conversations about them and everything. It started to feel like a creepy prank, but like I said, my history showed that we never actually watched the videos before then. It's not anything too crazy, but for some reason it really freaked me out, because it felt so strongly like I was acting out a scene that had already happened, and it felt eerie, like I wasn't supposed to be aware of it. I wish I could better convey the unsettling energy of the experience, but sometimes these things are hard to express. I've had other strange experiences when sick, but nothing like this. I knew what they were going to say on all of the videos before it even happened. And this sounds insane, but it felt like I was hearing the future or something. I'm not schizophrenic or anything like that, and don't experience things like this often at all. I just don't have an explanation for what happened. It made me a lot more suspicious of the probability of the simulation theory, though. This happened a few days ago. I'm an only child and I live at home with my parents. My mom is currently in a different state for work and has been there for 10 weeks. On Friday, at around 5 a.m., my dad left to go to his friend's house in New Hampshire to golf, and he got back Sunday afternoon. My dad and I share chores around the house while my mom is gone, and I'm extremely weird with touching wet food or just old food in general. So my dad always rinses the dishes and then runs the dishwasher, and all I have to do is put them away. Our dishwasher automatically opens when it's finished cleaning, and that's how I know when they're ready to be put away. He left for New Hampshire Friday morning before I woke up. I was upstairs doing homework and watching Netflix basically all morning until I went down to eat lunch before work. I made myself one of those microwave mac and cheese cup things and went into the silverware drawer to get a fork and noticed there was barely any in there. We have big forks and little forks, and I prefer the big ones, but there was only little ones in there. I looked in the dishwasher, which was closed, meaning it was empty. But I checked just in case it was closed by accident. There was nothing in there. I remember being super confused because the sink was empty and so was the dishwasher, so I had no clue where all of the dishes and silverware were. I decided to just ask my dad later when he called in to check on me, as he always does when he's away, and just grabbed one of the forks from the drawer and ate my mac and cheese. After I got home from work, I made myself some pasta for dinner. Don't flame me for only eating pasta all day. I'm lazy, okay? When I finished, I walked over to the drawer and I got annoyed when I remembered there were only little forks in there. I turned around to grab my phone to call my dad and ask him where everything was, since he hadn't called yet. And when I did, the dishwasher caught my eye. It was open. I looked inside, and it was full of clean dishes. There were all of my big forks, all of the dishes I had used recently, everything. I was terrified. I don't know why it scared me so bad, but it did. I grabbed my pasta, my phone, and a fork as fast as I could out of the dishwasher and bolted up the stairs to my room. I immediately called my dad and told him what happened, and asked him when he did the dishes last. He said he did them the morning before he left for New Hampshire. I asked if he had come home at all. He said no. I am literally 100% positive that the dishwasher was empty when I made the mac and cheese earlier that day. I wasn't half asleep. I wasn't under the influence. I wasn't imagining it. Nothing. As I said before, I am an only child. My mom is on the other side of the country, and my dad was 3 hours away by the time I even woke up that day. No one has keys to my house but us. Then I was trying to think of everything I could to explain it. I was wondering if someone broke in. I was like, did someone break in, do my dishes, take nothing, then leave? Do I have a second dishwasher I never noticed till now and I got them mixed up? Did I fall asleep and sleepwalk and do my dishes? The part that scares me the most is the fact that the dishes weren't in the sink either the first time. They were just nowhere. Where were they? I know this is a super long and detailed story about some forks, but I'm still terrified. I don't know what to think about this. This happened to me this morning when I got into work, and I have no idea whatsoever how it happened. I arrived at work this morning at 7:45, and I sat in my car for nearly 10 minutes before gathering my lunch and exiting my car to head into work and clock in. My fellow office mates, 8 of us total, tend to arrive after me 2 or 3 minutes before we begin our day at 8 a.m. Today was different. When I exited my car and headed for the office, none of my office mates had arrived yet. My coworkers, who work in shipping and receiving, meanwhile, have been at work since 7:30 a.m. I walked through the lobby, punched in my security code to access the warehouse, and headed for our break area to clock into the biometric palm scanner. The device gave me an affirmative message and displayed the time I clocked in, 7:56 a.m. Great. I opened the refrigerator door and placed my lunch toward the back of the top shelf before heading to the one and only stairwell to my office. This is where the glitch happened. I walked up the flight of steps, and to my shock, all of my coworkers were already at their workstations. I asked, completely startled, "When did you all get here?" They looked at me confused. Claire, our marketing manager, said, "We've been here for an hour. We're about to head to the boss's office for the production meeting. Where have you been?" Still shocked, I said, "Where have I been? It's only about 3 minutes before 8. As I gestured toward my workstation, the time on my lock screen said 8:58 a.m. Somehow, I lost an hour of my time walking up the stairwell to go to my office.